All right, let's talk about whether or not you should continue to pay more on your principal mortgage balance or actually divert that into a savings account of some sort. So let me give you what I have been doing for the last basically 2 years. I've been paying an extra basically $800 a month on principal against my mortgage, which is great. I loved it. It's like every month I was paying more and more. So that meant I was knocking down my principal at a pretty significant rate, which meant that 10, 15 years from now, I'd have no more mortgage balance. All right. The problem with doing that is there is no cash in your home that you can turn around to use to put food on the table. None. It's just like I'm telling you, man, it's just like I said yesterday, if you should use the CARES Act in which to take $100,000 out of your portfolio and then turn around and pay down some of your principal. Equity does not put food on the table. Equity does not even pay off your mortgage balance. It doesn't. The only thing that puts food on the table or pays off the mortgage balance is good old-fashioned cash. That's it. So what I've now done is I said, well, forget that because I can have all the equity in the world. If I cannot turn that equity into cash, either by taking a home equity line or selling the house, or if you're over 62, a reverse mortgage, it does me no good. Now, I'm not talking about the imputed income of not having a mortgage. Not having a mortgage is different than having a lesser mortgage balance. I hope that makes sense. Not having a mortgage is absolutely, unequivocally, the number one thing you should do, without question. The difference for most of us, at least for me, is I have less of a mortgage, but I still have a mortgage. All right, I have less of a mortgage, but I still have a mortgage, but I also have less of a savings account. In this day and age, that's not the good answer. That's bad. I mean, I'm sorry, you just can't have that because less of a mortgage still is a mortgage, which means you still have a lien on your property and you still have this cash outflow that you have to have the income to pay it. It's all there is to it. And if you don't have the income to pay it, guess what? I don't know. I don't know what happens. You have to come up with the money to pay that. So anyway, so for me, what I said is, let me stop doing that because while it's nice to be able to see the mortgage principal go down, there's no way I'm going to pay this house off before Liam graduates from high school. There isn't any way. So the only way I'm getting out from under this debt is by selling the house. That's it. And so my intention, while it made sense at the time, was to keep paying more and more of my principal. That way I'd recoup that once I sold the house. But do you not understand? You got to understand how selling a home works, how equity works, how values of a home works. If there is no demand for your house, it matters not the principal you've paid down. It doesn't matter as long as you still have a debt because demand drives prices. All right, so you think, let's just use this for an example. You have a $250,000 home. That's what your home is worth. You get $100,000 of mortgage outstanding balance. You're like, I'm going to pay an extra $500 a month on that monthly payment. All right, so let's just say your monthly payment is $1,500 a month. So now you're paying $2,500 a month as opposed to $1,500. And so you're like, I'll have this paid off in 8.3 years as opposed to 10.5. And I'm just literally just throwing that out there. So you say, I'll have it paid off 25% quicker than if I just paid $1,500 a month to it. And thus I'll save $100,000 of interest. That sounds good. That sounds good, absolutely, in theory. The problem is what happens in year 2 when you lose your job, all right? What happens in year 2 when you lose your job? You can't make the principal payments. You can't make the mortgage payment. Oh, here you go. Oops. And not only can you not make the payment, you can't sell the house because there's no buyers for it. So all the equity that you thought you had built up is completely gone. Is gone because there's no demand for your house. There's no demand. What happens in a chaotic time is there's increased demand, less demand, and increased supply because more and more people are trying to unload their houses because they can't afford them anymore. On top of that, you got more and more foreclosures, which means that it drives the prices down of your homes because the bank is trying to, the banks don't want to be in the property management business. See, I learned all this, and I wrote about it in this book right here, which I highly suggest you get. I learned all this in 2008. Actually, I saw in 2007 when I saw people doing stupid stuff because they thought the real estate market could never go go down. And then even though they started having a decline in the latter part of 2007, they thought it was just a blip. And man, were they mistaken. Now, on top of that, people also think the stock market can't go down. So what they do now is they start putting their money, they'll start investing heavily in stocks, thinking that we're at the bottom. I mean, that's, you can't have that either. So here's what I'm doing. I'm not one of these people who thinks the stock market can't go down. I'm not. But I am one of these people who says there's no way I'm getting out from under this house before Liam graduates, which will be, he's in 6th grade now, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 6 years. So there's no way this mortgage will be paid off in 6 years, none. So for me to put that extra $800 a month into the equity in my home, well, 8 times 12 is $9,600. That's 10. We'll just say for simplicity, that's 60,000 more equity I built up because I've been paying on the extra $800 a month. My house is worth well more than $60,000. All right, that $60,000 will not pay off my mortgage. It's not even close. And so 6 years now. It's 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Yeah, 6 years. So 6 years from now, I'll still have well more of a mortgage without having paid $60,000 down on my equity. It's not going to be close. So at that point, Charlotte and I said, we're going to downsize for sure. Absolutely. Unequivocally. That's the goal. So we're not going to pay the mortgage off. So all the equity, it literally does me no good in a catastrophic time frame like we're in today. So I'm going to divert that extra $800 a month. And I'm putting into VTI. So I'm saying I'm going to dollar cost average into the total stock index. But Josh, the markets can go down. Yeah, no, I completely recognize that. But I'm starting with a smaller amount, $800 a month, as I'm dollar cost averaging. Actually, I'm doing $1,000 a month. I'm dollar cost averaging into VTI, Vanguard Total Stock Index. So let's just say after a year's time, I put $12,000 in there, and it takes a 25% decline. Well, I'm still at $9,000. I still have access to that $9,000. You see what I'm saying? Whereas if I have the $9,000 in equity, I have no access to that, none. But you can get a home equity line of credit. You didn't learn, man. You didn't learn through 2008. Home equity lines of credit are harder and harder to come by. I'm telling you right now. Mortgage processing are getting tighter and tighter for sure, because banks aren't stupid, man. They don't want to have to be holding the wet bag. Now, that doesn't mean you can't not get one. I'm just telling you. But they want to see 2 years of cash flow. They want to see that you still have your job. They want to see your credit rating is high. And if they worry about your job prospects because you just got laid off or you're furloughed, it's going to be tough to get it. It's going to be tough to get it for sure. A guy just emailed me that he was able to get a loan with no appraisal. Well, not having an appraisal is different than having to show cash flow and income. If you get laid off, you got no. So banks look at cash, collateral, characters. Cash, collateral, character. There's a couple of the 5 C's of lending. I always forget the other 2 C's. Cash, collateral, character. And cash just means your cash flow. What's the likelihood you'll be able to pay this money back? And the cash is always based on your employment. If you have no job, there's no cash flow. Collateral which is what this guy was saying about not having an appraisal. That's different, because they're saying, look, we are okay with not getting an appraisal for the house. We just want to make sure you can cash flow it. As long as you can cash flow, we're comfortable with that. But if you are on the other side of the debt, you're like, man, I got this house right here, and I'm going to pay an extra $10,000 a year towards the equity, but I lose my job and I can't afford the mortgage. All the equity in the world doesn't do you any good if you still have a debt. So don't do that. I hope this makes sense, man. I'm just telling you. So for me, I'm saying, all right, I'm going to pay my monthly payment, which is what they require, and then I'm going to divert my $800 a month toward VTI, let that sucker grow and grow and grow. And even if I'm down 25% off where it is now, down 25%, I'll still have $9,000, whereas a year from now, or as where I put $12,000 in, I'll still have $9,000, which I can use, which will pay for 4 months of mortgage payment, if that makes sense. That's what I'm doing. So I would highly suggest you do the same. If you have to carry a mortgage, do not use your cash to still carry a mortgage. That is a bad move. That's a bad move. Do not use your cash to pay your mortgage, to still pay your mortgage. Build up cash. Or when I say cash, I'm talking about liquidity. Build up liquidity. That is rule number 1, what we've learned from 2008. All right, we'll see you.